Aloha and welcome to the Murph's Place 808 for the Love of Golf podcast. I am your host, Murph. I hope everybody has had a great couple of weeks. It's been probably 2 or 3 weeks since we last talked. And this will be my third attempt at doing a podcast since that time. It seems like whenever I do the podcast and I go to download it and edit on my computer, it tells me that the drive is not being seen and I have to format the card. Well, when you format the card, it erases all the data on it. So this is my third attempt at trying to get this out, and I'm going to try it a different way this time when I download it. But besides that, I hope everybody's had a good couple of weeks. We've got a lot of information to go over because, like I've said, it's been 2 or 3 weeks and some things have occurred. So let's just jump into it right away and get going. So we had the Fia matches, obviously, at Moanalua Golf Club. And, of course, Joe P. is continuing his dominance with the belt for the last 2 weeks. And then this past Sunday, obviously, we did not play due to it being Father's Day. So we took the day off. And I still have not been playing. I don't know I think I mentioned it on the last podcast when we had the Four Horsemen on, that I'm dealing with a hand issue, and I'm pretty sure that it is broken, but we'll get into that here in a second. So Joe P is continuing holding on to the belt in the Fia matches. The Beach Boys, they have been playing, and they played Mililani today. And there was only they only had 5 people there. So it was a very low turnout for the Beach Boys this week. Like I said, I have not been playing due to this hand injury. And it was kind of weird. I got to tell you this story. So I have a buddy, Ed Aguilar, that he spends his time both on Maui and in California. He splits his time up. So I haven't talked to him for about 5 years, and I've had this hand issue for the last couple of months. I think it occurred at the Hawaii State Amateur Tournament, and then it eventually led to me having to withdraw after the third hole at the Mid-Pac Open because I felt like when I hit a shot out of the rough with my hybrid, it actually felt like I broke my hand. I broke something in my hand. I couldn't even grip the golf club. So anyhow, I had to withdraw from that tournament, and I went and got x-rays. They didn't see any break. I saw a hand surgeon. He didn't see any break in the x-rays and said, hey, you could get some cortisone shots or I could put a half splint on it. So I got a half splint put on it, and I held off on the cortisone shots. But the following week, I called back and went back in and actually had 2 cortisone shots, one on my wrist and one on my hand. And it felt like it helped a little bit, but I knew something still was not right. So I went and saw Dan's wife. You might have heard me talking about her. She has a clinic. And so I went and saw her, and she gave me another cortisone shot a little bit higher up on my hand. And it helped a little bit, but still did not feel correct. So I wore the splint for a while, and it just got to the point that I have to do something with it because it's not going to get better. So fast forward to last Tuesday, I get a text message from my buddy Ed. And like I said, I haven't seen Ed or talked to him for about 5 years. We went to California. He's a member at one of the courses there. I can't remember the name of it. And we went and played there. And I remember when we were playing, he was dealing with a hand issue too. We didn't know what it was, but he had it for a while, and it wasn't getting better. And so last Tuesday, he texted me and asked me about my knees because he knew I had knee problems. So I just texted him back and told him, hey, my knees are good. I had a knee replacement last year, and it's perfect. No pain whatsoever. I said, but I am dealing with this hand issue right now. So That's all I said. I just said, I'm dealing with this hand issue. So then he texts me back and says, hey, do you remember that hand issue that I had? I think I can diagnose your problem. Do you have numbness or tingling in your pinky and your ring finger? And do you have pain in your wrist and in your hand? And I said, yeah, that's exactly what I have. And then he asked me, do you remember that hand issue I was dealing with? That happened, that went on for like 2 years. And then a buddy of ours, Lance Magida, had told him that he should go up to New York and see this specialist in New York. So Ed goes up to New York to see this specialist. And when he walks in the office, the first thing the guy asks him is, do you have your CT scan films here? And he said, no, they never ordered a CT scan. And then that doctor was like, what do you mean? That's one of the first things you do with a hand injury like that. So they did a CT scan, and sure enough, Ed had broken his hook of hamate bone in his hand, which 2 months ago, after I had that pain and where it was located, and I did some research, that's exactly what I said I had. That hook of hamate bone is broken. So Ed was like, hey, you need to get it taken care of. I dealt with it for 2 years, and I went and saw this guy. He diagnosed it, said what it was, did the surgery. I was back. He said I'd be out for 8 weeks. I was back in 7 weeks golfing. So I was like, perfect. So I call my knee doctor, Dr. Vakatapane, and I trust that guy with whatever he says. So I call him to ask, who he could refer me to for a hand surgeon to get this checked out. And luckily, in his office, in their group, they have Dr. Sam Chen, who is their hand surgeon. So I made an appointment, went and saw him. I told him he knows my background, that I'm an avid golfer. I play golf 5-6 times a week, practicing, playing, and he looked at the x-ray. I went and got x-rays again that morning so he could look at them. He looked at them and didn't see a break, but he said, that's not uncommon that you don't see it in the x-ray. And he told me more than likely, he's almost 100% sure that it's a broken hook of hamate based on where it's at and what that I did it while I was golfing. And he said that's a common injury for golfers and for baseball players. So anyhow, he told me to set up a CT scan. So I have a CT scan that I'm going to be going to tomorrow, and then hopefully an appointment with him on Thursday, and then hopefully setting a date as soon as possible to have the surgery to remove that bone. So I haven't been playing, and that's why I haven't been playing. I can't really even grip a club right now, and the pain has been getting worse since that time. And I hope that, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to show on the CT scan that that hook of hamate bone is broken. So another 8 weeks after the surgery, and I'll be able to start playing again, which will be just in time for our tournament in Thailand that we're playing for the belt. You guys also might remember that I discussed one of our beach boys, Frank Manuma, that he was having some issues and was in the hospital. Well, we got news that he was doing better, and he was out of the hospital, but he was still dealing with some issues. That was about a week and a half ago. Then we got word again that he was back in the hospital and that they were probably going to have to amputate his legs. So, man, it's been wearing heavy on my heart because I have a lot of respect and love for Frank. He's a great guy, one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And the guy, if you knew him, I know he's at least 70, but this guy is in shape. He works out all the time. When he built his new house, he put a home gym in there. It's an awesome place. And so he's really kind of health conscious and workout. And, then he had that back surgery and stuff. So anyhow, it ended up that we got word that they did amputate both of his legs right below the knee, or right above the knee, right below the knee, I think. And he sent a video, and it crushed me. I mean, knowing the guy and how active he is and the stuff that he does, to know that they had to do that, to save his life, basically, it just broke my heart. And it still bugs me, but I got to tell you, he sent us a video, and he was sitting in bed and he was doing his exercises with his legs less than 24 hours after the surgery. And he was in good spirits, and I just can't wait. They're going to be moving him to a rehab center where he'll be allowed to have visitors. So, man, I can't wait to be able to go see him. But to see how he wasn't like down, his spirit seemed to be really good. I mean, obviously, that can take a toll on you. But he seemed like he was good, and that made me feel a little bit better. But man, my heart still breaks for that guy. He's such a good guy, and everybody's praying for him and hoping he gets better. And he even said, I can't wait to get my prosthetics to come back out and golf, and hopefully they're going to get that done in 6 months, he said. So, I mean, the guy, he's just an amazing guy. And like I said, our prayers go out for him, and hopefully he'll be back out playing golf with us eventually. So, let's take a short break, and then we'll get into some PGA news and continue this. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, guys, I got to tell you, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you how. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Not only that, but Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other sites. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. So let's get into some PGA news now. Obviously, it's been a minute, so there's a few tournaments that were played. So let's just do a brief rundown. May 27th through the 30th, you had the Charles Schwab Challenge at Colonial Country Club in Texas. Jason Kokrak was the winner of that tournament. He shot 14 under and beat Jordan Spieth by 2 strokes. That was Jason's second win of the season, so congratulations to Jason. June 3rd through the 6th, you had the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village in Dublin, Ohio. That tournament is a great tournament, and me being from Ohio, I used to go watch that tournament. It's a great, Jack Nicklaus is an awesome host, and everybody loves playing in that tournament. Patrick Cantlay was your winner in that tournament, shot 13 under, and he won in a playoff with Colin Morikawa. And Colin Morikawa was one of my favorite players on the tour right now. He's just a good player. That was Patrick's 4th victory, and it's the second time that he won the Memorial Tournament. So he's not a newbie there at that tournament. Also, some interesting stuff that happened during that tournament. John Rahm had a 6-stroke lead after 54 holes of that tournament. And when he came off the 18th green, the officials let him know that he tested positive for COVID, and he had to withdraw from the competition, leading by 6 strokes. That had to be heartbreaking. I mean, I don't know. Somebody brought up today that they should have just gave him, after that, they should have gave him another test. to make sure it wasn't a false positive. But that would really suck if you had the lead and was on your way to winning and then had to withdraw. He was asymptomatic, so he didn't have any symptoms, but he had to still withdraw from the tournament. And what's kind of interesting is that there's only been 4 positive tests within competition after the first 50 events. So that's pretty good. They're doing a good job at keeping those guys safe playing in these tournaments. Then June 10th through the 13th, you had the Palmetto Championship. That was at Congaree Golf Course in Richland, South Carolina. Now, that isn't a regular stop on the tour. That is one tournament that they replaced the RBC Canadian Open with, and it got replaced due to COVID and the challenges of trying to get guys. And plus, Canada's got a little stricter stuff about the border right now with COVID. So that was June 10th through the 13th. And the winner of that tournament was Garrick Higo, guy, a name that I've never heard before, but he shot 11 under, and that was his very first PGA Tour victory, and only his second start actually on the PGA Tour. So that's pretty good. You had 6 guys tied in second place at 10 under. The next tournament, which was this past weekend, the U.S. Open. Torrey Pines, June 17th through the 20th. Bryson DeChambeau was your defending champion in that tournament. And this is kind of funny, and I mentioned this on the podcast that didn't make it on air because it got erased. The power rankings for that tournament, they had Jon Rahm listed number 1, Colin Morikawa listed number 2, and Rory McIlroy listed number 3. And Jon Rahm won that tournament yesterday. Made birdie, shot 6 under for the tournament, and won by 1 stroke over Louis Oosthuizen. And what's crazy is he made birdies on hole number 17 and 18. 17, the birdie on 17 tied Oosthuizen, and then the birdie on 18 was the 1 stroke that he ended up winning by. And Louis had to be kicking himself. On 18, he hits his drive left in the rough, and it wasn't a very good lie, so he couldn't reach the green. And it's a par 5, and he could have got there in 2. If he was in the fairway, he could have got there in 2. However, he had to lay up, and then he hit his third shot just above the hole. I think it was probably about 10 feet, 12 feet or something like that. And then he made the putt for birdie, but he ended up losing by 1 stroke. He also bogeyed hole number 17. So that gives Jon Rahm the win, and the power ranking guys were right this time. It also was Jon Rahm's first major win, and he's the first Spaniard to win a U.S. Open. So that's a little bit of vindication for him for having to withdraw from the Memorial Tournament because of that positive COVID test. So congrats to Jon Rahm. And he's got a new baby, a dad for the first time on Father's Day. So that was pretty cool, too. The next tournament up is the Travelers Championship at TPC River Highlands in Connecticut. The defending champion in that tournament, Dustin Johnson. And the power rankings for that tournament, they got Bubba Watson listed number 1, Bryson DeChambeau listed number 2, and Dustin Johnson listed number 3. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm kind of liking DJ in that spot, but I like Bubba Watson also. So either one of those guys. It was a quick story about Bubba Watson. So when I was caddying in the Sony Open Pro-Ams, Bubba was in our group. He was the pro for one of the groups one year, and I think we were on like hole number, tournament 14, I think. I think we were on hole number tournament 14, and they hit their drives, and we're walking down the middle of fairway, and me and Bubba are walking beside each other. We're just talking, and he was like, "Hey, I want to see Dog the Bounty Hunter. And I said, you know what? My buddy Ski has lived here almost 20 years and has never seen Dog on this island. And he was just cracking up. And then he'd also, said he wanted to see Beth too, his wife. And so we were just talking, and I was like, yeah, my buddy's been here almost 20 years, never seen him on the island. And they even say on the TV screen when they show their house, it says Eva Beach. And Ski lives in Eva Beach, and he sees everybody, and he never saw those guys. But it was funny because then, it was the next month we went to a Florida Georgia Line concert at the Blaisdell, and while we're sitting up there, me and a couple other guys, not Ski, but we looked down and Dog and his family is right down by the stage. So I had only been here like a year, and I saw him. Well, I wasn't even living here at that time. I was just visiting. So let's talk. Corn Ferry Tour. Hey, Brent Grant, my buddy that was here and we golfed. He was back in action this weekend at the Wichita Open benefiting KU Wichita Pediatrics. He shot 15 under, but what was also really impressive was that he had all 4 rounds in the 60s. He shot 67, 64, 65, and 69, and he finished tied for 10th place. So that's his 10th top 10 finish on tour. Great tournament, Brent, if you're listening. Also, like I said, I've said it before, I want to try to get him on the show sometime. And next up for the Corn Ferry Tour is the Live and Work in Maine Open, June 24th through the 27th, and that's in Falmouth, Massachusetts. And I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Falmouth, Massachusetts, and my uncle worked at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, and that's up there where Cape Cod is. And I went up and stayed the summer with them one year. It was an awesome time. And my aunt wanted me to stay there and play baseball for the school there. I didn't do that, obviously. I went back to Ohio, but it was a great trip nonetheless. It was kind of cool. My aunt's house and aunt and uncle's house, right behind their house was a cranberry bog. And it was like 3 or 4 houses in a row right there, all had cranberry bogs. And at the end of the bog, down towards the back part of the property, there was a little creek, and it was spring fed. So it was crystal clear water. It was pretty cool. But I remember the one time my aunt was making dinner, getting everything ready, and the dog got out, and she said, "You guys aren't eating until you catch the dog." So the dog ran down the lane between the bogs and then jumped down in the bog. So I'm chasing him, and I jumped down in the bog too. And when I land down. There's not a lot of water. It wasn't all full with water. It was pretty dried up. But when I started to take off to run again, I felt this sting in my shoe, on the tongue of my shoe. And when I looked down, there was a spider down there. So I got bit by this spider, which was I think it was called a web bowl spider. And they're poisonous, but not to the point that you're going to die. What happens if they bite you, wherever they bite you, that skin kind of dies and decays and can leave a hole. So obviously I was young. I was probably, 12, 13. So my aunt took me to the hospital, and they cut on it and then sucked the poison out and everything with this thing. So luckily, and stitched it up, and luckily the skin didn't decay or nothing. So they said something about it was the first time they were going to try something like that. I guess they treated it some other way before, but anyhow, Falmouth, Massachusetts, great place. Loved it. First place I ever saw a dump. We had to take the garbage from the house to the dump. I don't know if Brent is going to play in that tournament this week. They don't have a field posted for it, but if he is, good luck, Brent. Hope you do well. You're playing really well. What's also pretty cool is that, I've talked about this before. The top 25 players on the Corn Ferry Tour, the top 25 money winners on the Corn Ferry Tour get their PGA card. So Brent moved up 6 spots on the money list with his 10th place finish, and he's now in 71st place. So still got a little ways to go, but if he keeps playing like he is, he may get pretty close to that, and hopefully we'll get to be able to see him on TV. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's take a short break, and we'll be right back. This podcast is brought to you by Smart Boy Studios, the best studio and artist collective out of Ohio. Smart Boy Studios provides recording, mixing, and mastering services, as well as any other audio post-production you need. Smart Boy entertainment artist Corey Gossett is dropping a song every single week this year. Stay up to date by following him on Spotify or Apple Music by searching Corey Gossett, or on Instagram or Twitter under @KidWhoCameBack. Friday, March 26th, JV Tree is dropping his sophomore album, Oakwood Hills, featuring C Money Baby, 10 Tempo, Eamon Jones, D Knight, Corey Gossett, and Joey is Fire. It's the perfect soundtrack to start off the spring. Also on March 26th, Zachary Leon is releasing another short EP of West Coast influenced cruising songs, including another feature from C Money Baby. DeCasso also dropped a song recently titled All Right, if you need a pick-me-up today. Head to www.smartboystudios.com to stay up to date on new music, new videos, and any upcoming events. If you'd like to support Smart Boy Studios and their artists, visit threads.smartboystudios.com to check out their merch. They offer hoodies, hats, shirts, and more. All right, welcome back, everybody. Pretty cool information that I got was that Ash Matthews, Jordan Murphy, aka Ash Matthews, and Corey Gossett they're both coming out to Hawaii. One, to visit me, but also while they're here, they're going to shoot a music video. So that'll be pretty cool. Corey's going to do one of his songs out here and do a music video for it. So that's going to be a good time. Sometime in October, after I get back from Thailand, they're coming. So he got really great prices on flights. He called me the other day and he was like, "Dude, I got tickets. There's tickets for $290 round trip to Hawaii." I go, "Book them. Why would you not book them? They're so cheap. Come on out. You guys can shoot a music video and you can write it off as a business trip." They're only going to be here a week, but it'll be great to see my son again and meet Corey. I haven't met him yet, but so I'm looking forward to that. And man, I tell you, I just want to get this hand issue fixed. It's driving me crazy not being able to golf. And then I got guys saying, "Hey, why don't you come and give me some lessons, teach me since you're laid up?" I'm like, dude, being on the golf course is the last place I want to be. If I'm on the golf course, I want to play. You know, that's just torture. It's torture enough not being able to play right now and having to deal with this hand issue. So I just hope that the CAT's CT scan, shows the break and I can get in and get it operated on pretty quick. I'm missing a bunch of tournaments that I need to be playing and I'm not going to be able to play. So I need to be ready for Thailand. So I hope that they can get it scheduled and get me in real quick and get it taken care of. But besides that, there's not too much else going on. If you guys have any questions or topics you want me to discuss, please shoot me an email at murphsplace808@gmail.com. It could be about anything. Maybe you have some questions about rules. Did have a couple people ask me a couple things about rules, basic stuff. I mean, but they're not people that play a lot or know a lot of the rules. For one example, I'll just give you, they wanted to know what the general penalty was because it didn't specify. I mean, it does specify, you just got to look more for it. And it's just one stroke is the general penalty. When you say, when a rule says that you get assessed the general penalty, that's just one stroke. But anyhow, if you guys got any questions, please shoot me an email and let me know. If you'd like to help support the podcast, and I thank those guys that do, please go to the Anchor website. There's a spot there that you can click on to support the podcast, and I appreciate all that do that. It helps me keep providing content, and hopefully, like I said, I'll eventually get Brent on here on the show and talk to him. I just don't want to bother him when he's trying to, work on his game and do well. But I do want to get him on here and have him talk about some of the stuff that's going on in the Corn Ferry Tour and how he's handling things. So, well, I am going to get out of here, guys. Thank you. I hope everybody has a great week. I will try to, hopefully this goes through this time. This will be my, like I said, this is the third time I've tried to get this podcast on, and hopefully this will be the winner. And hopefully if this works, then I shouldn't have a problem next week for next week's podcast. But again, thank you guys for listening. All you guys listening all over the place, man. It's pretty cool to see some of the places that are listening. I got people in the Netherlands, Germany, Japan, everywhere, Brazil. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. And if you guys have questions too, please shoot me an email at murphsplace808@gmail.com. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. If you guys are playing golf, hit them straight, hit them long, but don't hit them very often. Aloha, everybody.